Today on the programme we have Mickey Smith, author of the book The Power of Practice. Mickey, in your book you talk about what makes a champion sportsperson. Your argument is that talent, a natural aptitude or skill, doesn't exist, right?
Right. I know that's controversial because it's thought that people are born with natural abilities. I have my critics, but the evidence from research I've done backs up my argument. If you look at anyone who's reached a high level in any complex task, you'll find they've spent many years building up to it. This has started other people thinking and doing their own research. I've no doubt they'll reach the same conclusions I have.
What about physical abilities like speed? Isn't that what makes one footballer better than another, for example?
There are physical issues that are significant in some activities. However, in virtually all complex tasks, the limiting factor is a mental thing. People don't become the greatest footballers because they move around the pitch quickly. While he may not realise it, the way a great footballer understands where his teammates are around him on the field is what helps him score goals, rather than speed.
In your book you also talk about geographical areas where lots of people become experts in the same activity. Gymnastics, for example.
The town I grew up in produced the top gymnasts of my generation, myself included. My initial reaction when I got to the top was, wow, I must have been born with this ability to do gymnastics. But what about the others? What I now understand is that this excellence was down to having access to a fantastic coach and a 7-day-a-week gymnastics club where we transformed ourselves from ordinary to extraordinary. Opportunity's another factor determining success.
Your argument is that to become excellent, you have to practice for thousands of hours. That's a lot of training.
That's right. How successful you are is down to how long you're prepared to work. Evidence suggests those who make it believe excellence relies on practice. If you believe being good at something is down to natural ability, when you fail, you'll think you don't have enough of it, and you're more likely to give up. If you believe excellence is about effort, when you fail, you're going to see it as an opportunity to grow.
What approach should coaches take when training youngsters in sport?
The way to go about it is to ensure the child enjoys what they're learning, that it becomes an internal desire to progress. Coaching young people is more about psychology than it is about the technical side of things. It's making the young performer really care about where they're going, motivating them in the right way that will enable them to actually get there. Little difference from how you encourage adults, really.
Why don't more people who play sport try harder to improve?
Well, they see sports stars and assume they were born brilliant, but there's no evidence to suggest that. You just don't see the painstaking process it took to get them there when they're winning games on your TV screen. If you did, their brilliance wouldn't seem so miraculous. The illusion is to think they got there quickly and think, oh my goodness, I could never get up that slope.
Given everything you've said about top performers, why do they sometimes fail at crucial moments? That's called choking, right?
Yes, it's to do with the expectation to succeed, no matter how many times they've done it before. When you first practice a skill, you have to exert conscious control over it. When you become proficient, you're able to do it subconsciously. When you choke, you become so anxious that instead of delivering your skill automatically, you become conscious of what you're doing, and it's like you've never done it before.
Thank you very much.
Part 2.
Hello everyone, my name is Chris Graham and I spent my last vacation working in Australia. The place I was in is a popular tourist spot, so there are lots of student jobs advertised in the newspaper, from hotel work to being a tour guide. I saw my job for a bus driver on the internet, and so I applied. I'd recommend you do that too. The whole idea of getting to know another country really appealed to me, and I'm really pleased I had the opportunity to go. I worked for a company which tries to help tourists understand what life used to be like before Europeans arrived, a time before clothes, cars, and electricity. Many of the local people, the Aborigines, work for the company. Studying tourism at university wasn't essential to get the job. In fact, my subject's history. What I did do was a short training course when I first arrived, though, to learn about the local plants and animals. At first, I was given a room in a hotel in town, but I found that I felt quite lonely, so I moved into a caravan on the outskirts. Lots of other staff lived on the site, and I got to meet lots of the local people there too. Everyone was really friendly, and as there wasn't a cinema or restaurant nearby, people frequently had a party on Saturday night, and I was always invited. I worked 6 days a week, and I had to get up really early in the morning when most people, and even the birds and animals, are asleep. This is so the tourists can get to take photos of the sunrise. I used to pick them up from their hotels around 5 a.m. and then head out of town and into the desert. The tourists were from all over the world and often had no experience of the heat. They knew, of course, about covering their head and neck with a hat, but often left their shoulders uncovered, which wasn't very sensible, especially if they hadn't been in the country for long and weren't used to the sun. After we had been into the desert, I would take the tourists to the local cultural centre, where they had the opportunity to ask questions. The tourists were especially keen to find out how to distinguish the tracks of kangaroos from wallabies and wild dogs. After the morning session, I usually went back home, had a shower and a rest, then started again around 2 in the afternoon. I used to take the afternoon group to a waterhole where they were shown which plants could be eaten and which were also used to make weapons for hunting. At one time, there were very few tourists in the particular area I worked in because you needed to get a coach from the small railway station in the nearest large town, a good 200 kilometres away. There's now an airport, but the local government is keen to get one built which can take more flights, especially from abroad. I'm not sure about that, as I think it's busy enough as it is, but it would be good for the local economy, no doubt about it. Anyway, I really recommend working in Australia during your vacation. The busy tourist season in the area where I worked is from May to October, so you need to make sure your application is in by the January of the year you're hoping to work. You might not hear until March, as it takes a while to process the applications and get references, but make sure you don't leave it too late.
Part 3.
Today I'm talking to 21-year-old long-distance runner Anne Brown, who's just returned from the World Championships. So, Anne, how did you feel about your performance in the Championships?
When you haven't raced for a while, you've no idea whether you're in sufficiently good shape. I'd only had a few weeks of training behind me, so I wasn't thinking I'd do brilliantly, and it certainly would have been amazing to come first. Anyway, I was happy to get the silver medal. It was an exciting race and the crowd was fantastic.
So, what's your training routine like, Anne?
I do around 25 to 30 hours a week, mostly long distance, steady stuff. I go running through the woods. Running on roads is pretty dull, so I make sure there's always some attractive countryside to keep me interested. I get pleasure from seeing the changes in nature, but I do have to remember to keep my eye on the time so I can check my pace. It's vital to keep pushing myself to my limits.
Do you train every day or do you take a day off?
The accepted idea is that all professional sports people should have at least one rest day a week, so the body can recover. I'm not a great believer in that, though. At my age, I find I can keep going without one. I do 5 hours a day, and I'd even like to be able to do more than that, but I don't want to push my body too hard, because that can lead to other problems.
What about your competitors in races? Do you get to know them as friends?
I race against athletes from all sorts of places. I wouldn't say I've got friendships with them, though I'm sure some of them are really good guys, but I tend to keep a professional distance. It'd be too easy to let friendships start interfering with the way I run races. Of course, at my age, chatting about life, having fun, and a good social life are important to me. I share a house with 3 mates. They're the people I really get on well with.
So, do you have any favourite free time activities?
Let me think. I suppose I did when I was a kid, but I'm not so sure nowadays. Yeah, I used to take my kite to the top of the hills and fly it for hours. In the season, skiing's something that I get into quite a bit when I've got the time. I've always enjoyed active things and never really been much of a reader of books or that kind of thing. Of course, I watch TV and play computer games like most people.
And do you get recognised in the street very often?
Very rarely, I'm pleased to say, as I think it would be a bit strange, and I'm not sure how comfortable I'd feel about being stopped for autographs and pictures all the time. On the whole, I find people wanting your autograph a bit of a pain, to be honest. It happens sometimes when I'm at events, and at first you say okay, and then after a while you wish it'd stop. I suppose I did that sort of thing when I was younger. It was always such a thrill to meet someone in the public eye.
So, are you planning for the next Olympics?
Well, in my sport, most people peak in their late 20s, so it's important to have an eye on the next 5 years or so, because that's when supposedly I'll be at my best. In the immediate future, I want to do well, of course, but I'm concentrating my attention further ahead. Fortunately, I've been injury-free so far, so I don't have that worry. It's no use having fantasies about winning gold medals until I've reached the top of my own fitness and endurance levels. Then I can start to think seriously about it.
Part 4.
Hi there, my name's Tim Tanner, and I usually sing with my twin brother Sam Tanner. I'm going to tell you about our career. Sam and I have been pretty famous as the singing twin brothers for about 3 years, and we've appeared on lots of TV shows, including Summer Holiday Special and Fun Time, which is the talent show where we were voted Best Act. You probably saw it. It's the one where the people in the acts had to be related to each other. After that, we had 4 hit singles in a row, and I guess the rest is history, really. People often ask us what it's like to be twins who've grown up looking so alike. Sam and I have shared almost every experience, and we're never usually apart for more than an hour at a time. I was born 10 minutes before Sam, so officially I'm the older brother, although we do actually have a real older brother, Ken, who's a year older than us. We were born premature, earlier than we were supposed to be. Mum says it was hard carrying both of us when she was pregnant, and she was quite relieved when we suddenly appeared in October rather than January, over 2 months earlier than expected. Our big brother Ken's birthday's in December, so we're pretty close in age. It must have been tough for our parents with 3 young boys. Sam and I aren't completely identical, but most people can't tell us apart. It's only Mum who never mixes us up. Even our dad makes a mistake sometimes calling me Sam and my brother Tim, because there's hardly any difference in our hair and we're the same height and build. But as soon as we open our mouths, he'll know which one it is by the voice. Sam's is a bit deeper than mine, but most people don't even notice that. In character, we're quite similar. We've both always loved music, and since we were 5, we've wanted to be pop stars. We've always had a real interest in going out and being sociable too. I'm a bit shy though. People that know us say I'm not as confident as Sam is, which is probably true. Although I'm not exactly shy, After all, you can't appear on TV if you are. At school, we used to pretend to be each other sometimes for a laugh. Sometimes we'd swap places for spelling tests, but nobody noticed because we got the same marks, which were pretty low. We were better at sports and both played in the school football team. I was also good at basketball, but Sam wasn't as keen, preferring volleyball for some reason. We were both much more interested in music. I began learning the guitar, and he started proper singing lessons with a private teacher when we were about 13. But a year or so later, we both got into dancing in a big way. And then we went to a special school where we could do loads of stuff that's turned out to be useful. Things like drama. We share everything and have one phone and computer between us, and we get on well almost 100% of the time. But of course, occasionally we have a row, usually about shoes because we share them too. But if we both want to wear the same ones for a show, then we'll argue for about 20 seconds and then one of us will give in and it'll all be over. We managed to share the computer pretty well without fighting over it, which some people might find surprising. Our image is based on being twins and looking alike, and because we both have poor eyesight, we enjoy choosing different styles of glasses for performances. Maybe green ones to go with green suits, or dark ones with t-shirts and jeans. So the glasses are a major aspect of the way people see us on stage. And look out for some new looks on our next tour to promote the new album, which is called Time Dance and comes out in a few weeks. It's got some exciting new songs on it, quite different from our first album, Soul Brothers. Sam and I wrote all the new songs together.